When I received my lockdown tickets, I was in Whitehorse trying to go see my dad in hospital. But now we're visiting my dad that I haven't seen for a while. Got liver cancer, diabetes took one of his legs, and well, there's I think lung cancer in there too or something. It's full of full of sickness. Me and my oldest sister Hallie, we both got a ticket of $575.
Well, this is one of those cases where the prosecutor, to their credit, dropped the charges. They won't share with us why the charges were dropped.
Today we're bringing you the story of Colin Wilson and his sisters. Now, we've been helping the Wilsons through our largest civil liberties project to date. It's called fightthefines.com. And through that project, we put people who have received a lockdown ticket or infraction or summons in touch with top criminal and civil litigators at no cost to them to fight their lockdown tickets in a court of law. And we make all of this possible through your generous crowdfunding donations and a partnership with the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund. So let me start off this video by thanking everybody who donates and continues to donate to the Democracy Fund, because as you'll find out today, you're helping families like Colin's who are receiving lockdown tickets during the absolute worst times of their lives, when they're trying to live through real family tragedy. But as you'll also find out today, Colin's Fight the Fine story ends with a little bit of good news, as Colin and his family lived through just so much bad news these last few months. And you at home, you made that little bit of reprieve for Colin's family possible. First, we're going to meet Colin, and you'll hear his story. And then we're going to hear from Colin's Fight the Fines lawyer. His name is Luke Kupel from Caritas Law. And then I'm going to tell you how you can continue to help people just like Colin fight their lockdown tickets in court. Now, let's start with Colin's story. Colin traveled with his sisters up to Whitehorse, Yukon to visit their father, who's dying. They were told that it could happen at any minute, or he may last up to 6 weeks. So they left quickly during the first week of June to travel up, wherein the trio were promptly fined $575 apiece for violating COVID protocols. And this was all before they even got to see their dying dad. Take a listen.
When I received my lockdown tickets, I was in Whitehorse trying to go see my dad in hospital. We kind of last minute trip to go up there. So got a phone call. We were up there for 3 days already, got a phone call saying, hey, we need to meet up with you guys because you falsified documents of coming into Whitehorse or the Yukon. I was like, well, okay, you can meet us at the hospital then. We're waiting to go in to see our dad. And we go there and they're trying to slap us with about $2,000 of fines. You're like, what? Why? You don't have to isolate for COVID if you haven't come in contact with it. And it's just kind of a big piss off. They're like, okay, you can still stay in Whitehorse. You got to quarantine for 14 days though. But as soon as the paperwork's done to going to see the hospital, you can go into the hospital. Well, that's not quarantining at all. Like, so I can go to the hospital with paperwork, but I can't go anywhere else. So, but now we're visiting my dad that I haven't seen for a while. Got liver cancer, diabetes took one of his legs, and there's I think lung cancer in there too or something. It's full of sickness.
And so it was you and your two sisters. Your dad is in very precarious health. Sounds like you needed to get up there really, really fast. And the peace officers, their concern was not that you needed to visit your dad really, really fast. They wanted you to quarantine.
Yeah.
And
I never give up my number to anybody when I was up there, and just randomly they phoned me. They're like, hey, we got to meet up. If you run, we're just gonna call the cops on you, and we can deal with it that way. I was like, well, I guess I won't run.
That's creepy how they know that you're there and they know, where to find you. And, they could have come right to the hospital and ticketed you. Now, you did receive tickets. What was the outcome of those tickets? So let's start with the amount first.
So when we finally met up with them at the hospital, they started going through what we did wrong. I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. And so me and my oldest sister, Hallie, we both got a ticket of $575 for falsifying documentation. So when you go into Whitehorse, you got to fill out a declaration of when did you arrive, where are you staying, how long are you going to be there, where you're going to quarantine, have you had your COVID shots, like your vaccines, in the past 2 weeks or one in the past 2 weeks, are you going to self-isolate, all that. And I was like, nope, not filling that out correctly at all. So I did it. And then my other sister, Kelty, she got a ticket for not showing proof of vaccination. And I told him straight up, I was like, that is against her rights. That's not worth it. Like, why are you gonna do that? That they give us a ticket anyway. And my buddy and my sister actually told me, like, Rebel News is like, oh, perfect. So I sent all my information into you guys, and now here we are.
And I talked to your lawyer, Luke, who worked really hard to fight your tickets, and it sounds like they were all withdrawn. What was your experience, I guess, working with your Fight the Fines lawyer? I only talk to the clients sort of when they get their tickets and sometimes when the tickets are resolved, when they're tossed out of court. But I want to ask you, how were you treated by Luke and his team?
I was treated quite well. I put my information in and waited, and I just sent a quick email. I was like, hey, I was just wondering where my case is at. And he got back to me right away. He's like, actually, I phoned him today. They're going to give me more information tomorrow. And then they emailed me the day after. He's like, yep, they dropped the ticket. I was like, yeah, that's what they should have done. Should never take it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you never should have been issued those tickets in the first place. And I'm very glad that you could just sort of send us your ticket and then go about your life. And you have like a real lawyer working to get those tossed out of court. And we did this all, as we always do, at no cost to you. We crowdfund the cost of the legal fees through fightthefines.com. Do you have a message for all the people out there who, these are people that never met you, but they just want to get involved in the fight for freedom. They want to help people fight their lockdown tickets. Do you have a message for all of those anonymous donors to Fight the Fines?
My message is thank you, because I was going to plead not guilty of that ticket anyway, and I would have had to go into court once or twice and back up in Whitehorse, and I live in Saskatchewan, so that's 24-hour drive. It's kind of a strained one way, or you do the plane for whatever 5 hours. But I'd like to thank them very much. It definitely released some stress off my shoulders going up there and having to deal with that. So,
well, I'm very glad that we were able to help, and I'm very glad that your tickets got tossed out. Sounds like you and your family have a lot on your plate right now, and worrying about lockdown tickets is something that you shouldn't have to do right now when your family is going through so much. So, Colin, I'm glad. I'm so happy to hear about your success, and I guess stay out of trouble. But if you do get back in trouble, you know where to turn for help, right?
Yeah, I got to go back up there whenever I get a text or when they're having the funeral.
This was all so heartless and unnecessary. And that's why I was so proud to be able to put Colin and his sisters together with that lawyer I mentioned earlier, Luke Kupol. He's from Caritas Law in Saskatoon. And Luke was able to have Colin and his sisters lockdown tickets withdrawn. Here's Luke with the good news.
Well, this is one of those cases where the prosecutor, to their credit, dropped the charges. They won't share with us why the charges were dropped. They're not required to share with us why the charges are dropped. But definitely when we draw attention to the prosecutorial standard and we draw attention to the public interest involved, the resources that will be expended, and the ultimate purpose of the charges in the first places, on some occasions, prosecutors just decide this is not something worth doing and the charges get dropped. I can't guarantee that's what happened in this case, but I have my suspicions.
Friends, I want to thank you so much for making the difference in the lives of people like Colin and his sisters. They're going through so much tragedy right now, and the last thing they needed to be worrying about was a $1,600 and some odd dollars worth of tickets outstanding from Whitehorse for the crime of making an emergency trip to the Yukon to see their father before he passes away. You know, during this pandemic, we've seen the absolute worst of humanity, the tattletales, the COVID Karens, the mask police, the people who just won't mind their business and leave other people alone. But for me, I get to see the best of humanity. I get to see the generosity of you at home that helps strangers you've never met, and you help them in ways that you can't even comprehend, and sometimes in their darkest hours. I know that Colin and his sisters and their family are very grateful, but I'm also grateful for what you do at home to keep me from sliding into, I don't know, COVID-induced pessimism. Now, if you would like to keep this going, to help more people like the Wilsons, to help people get in touch with really great lawyers like Luke Kupel, please donate today at fightthefines.com, and all your donations there now qualify for a charitable tax receipt through our partnership with the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. If you get a lockdown ticket, we don't want you to pay it. We want you to fight it. Send it to us at fightthefines.com, where we will put you in touch with the top criminal or civil litigator at no cost to you. And if you have yet to receive a lockdown ticket, but you want to get involved in the fight for freedom, consider donating at that same website, fightthefines.com, and all donations there now qualify for a charitable tax receipt through a partnership with the registered Canadian charity, the Democracy Fund.